President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. said the Philippine government must find a ways to explore for oil and gas in the West Philippine Sea, stressing that the country needs it already. Zakarian Sarao fills us in with the details. Zach?
Yes, Neil, despite earlier calls of wanting to ensure peace in the disputed waters, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. earlier stressed that the Philippines has to find a way to explore the West Philippine Sea for energy reserves, even in the absence of a deal with China. To recall, the two governments initially planned for a joint energy exploration over the said contested waters, but was terminated just last June. With this termination, China continued to insist territorial claims over the West Philippine Sea, resulting in what Marcos called a quote-unquote roadblock, hindering the country from conducting joint oil and gas exploration in the contested waterways. However, according to Marcos, it is imperative for the Philippine government to push through with this oil exploration because the country already needs it. Meanwhile, Marcos also told reporters that the mutual defense treaty between the Philippines and the United States of America is still quote unquote under negotiation and evolution, while the US's proposals about the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or the EDCA, are still under study. Marcos explained that both are being studied to determine what is feasible or most efficient for the defense of the Philippine territory. In fact, he said he already tackled issues on security and defense with US Vice President Kamala Harris during her visit to the country last week. The latter affirmed that attacks made against the Philippine forces in the South China Sea would invoke the US mutual defense commitment to the Philippines. According to Marcos, the government will have a more concrete plan regarding both the treaty and the EDCA by next year. Another subject Marcos touched on, Neil, was the unsettled appointments of the defense and health secretaries. Despite calls from the public insisting him to appoint officials as soon as possible, Marcos said that it is still pending. In fact, Marcos expressed that he was happy with the situation as it is now, explaining that he is satisfied with the current performance of both the DND and the DOH. He said that these appointments are revisited every year, so the number of possible nominees keep increasing. Currently, the DND is headed by Officer in Charge Undersecretary Jose Faustino Jr., while Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere leads the DOH. Back to you, Neil.
Zach, I want to go back to your story on the oil and gas exploration in the Western Philippine Sea. If you recall, I believe this was earlier this year, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo said that the Philippines is interested in reviving talks with China on this particular topic. So that was Foreign Affairs Secretary Manalo. But do we know about President Marcos's personal stand regarding this matter? Is he inclined to order the resumption of the talks on the oil and gas exploration with China?
Yes, Neil. Manalo did indeed say that, but Manalo also said during a televised interview that both Marcos and Chinese President Xi Jinping wish to resume talks on the said joint exploration after the two had a bilateral meeting at the sidelines of the APEC, or the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, in Thailand last month. However, Marcos has yet to affirm this himself, with no concrete plans on the said revival being announced by the government yet.
Okay. Thanks, Zach. That's Zakarian Sarao reporting live.